From the very literal beginning of my life, I have been drawn to animals like a magnet. I was that kid, the one who begged for a cat and then a dog, and even went as far as to make a PowerPoint presentation pleading for a pet duck, which wasn't very successful. I didn't just love animals, I wanted and needed them in my life, and it's really what set the foundation for everything that I would become. At school, I was the shy kid. I didn't talk very much. During recess in the winter in elementary, I spent a lot of my time underneath the playground, putting my baby carrots in the snow, hoping that would help keep the wild rabbits fed until spring. Because I was so shy, I wasn't always great at making friends, and I often felt like my pets were my best friends. They listened to me without judgment, and they've never questioned who I was or am. The first thing I ever wanted to be when I grew up was a vet, and it made perfect sense. Loving animals would become my life's work. But school wasn't my strong suit, and I quickly realized that that dream was not going to come true because you need a lot of schooling. But still, my love for animals always felt different than other kids. I wasn't just a kid who loved pets, I was obsessed with them. I would read through every single pet care book at the library until every image was deeply ingrained into my head, and I would bring my hamster magazine to school and I would read it over and over until I knew every single detail of it. And when it came time to even choosing a babysitter, my choice was super simple, and that was whoever had the most pets. My other love was photography. I would take pictures of anything and everything from flowers to sunsets to my pets and my life. Once I got my first real DSLR camera, a Canon T3i, that camera sparked something creative in me, and I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. I was going to be a photographer. But the more I learned about the industry, the more I realized how oversaturated and out of reach that was. And that's when I discovered YouTube. I fell in love instantly. I wanted to create, to share, to have an audience of people who cared about what I cared about. Finally, I had found the perfect world for a shy kid of not having to present to a group of people in front of me while still being able to share all of my passions and experiences with other people. But my parents said no, and that news was very devastating, and I definitely did not like my parents in the moment. But to cure the need to make videos, I instead made fake YouTube videos in the meantime, and I would record myself doing the things I loved, narrating for an imaginary audience, pretending that someone somewhere was watching them. Then I stumbled across the hamster hideout forum, and everything changed. It was a whole new world of information that ignited something in me. Hamsters weren't just cute little pets anymore. They were complex, beautiful creatures that deserved so much more care and respect than most people gave them. I took everything I learned and I tried to apply it immediately. I removed the cotton fluff from my hamster Pumpkin's enclosure. I saved up for bigger wheels. I made him a bin cage, and it felt good to give Pumpkin the life he deserved, and I had found my passion. Finally, right before I turned 12, I was allowed to create my own YouTube channel. For the first time, I could share everything I was passionate about, whether that be polymer clay figurines, how to grow long nails, my pets, and eventually my hamsters. My channel felt like home, and I had found my people who loved and cared for animals as deeply as I did. As I shared my hamster experiences and all the things I had learned, my content started doing well, and it felt amazing to connect with people. But I also was young, and being a young creator came with a cost. I have been called every mean name under the sun. Someone once even accused me of harming one of my hamsters because they believed I didn't like him as much as the other hamster. And I cried over those words, unable to understand how someone could think such a thing about me, and it was painful. Every little mistake I made felt magnified, like the world was watching and waiting for me to fail. I was just a kid who wanted to help hamsters, a kid who wanted them to get the care they deserved. But the internet can be a harsh place. Many people will tell you to just ignore the comments, but that's easier said than done. There have been times where I have been trying to enjoy someone else's content, and I end up seeing someone mention me negatively. At these times, it feels like you've walked in on a conversation you were never supposed to overhear in the first place, and it's a jarring feeling, one that's really hard to shake off. When I turned 18, I was allowed to show my face on YouTube, and I thought it would be freeing and that I could finally expand my content. Instead, it came with a wave of comments that I wasn't prepared for. Comments about my body, assumptions that I had an eating disorder, criticism of my teeth. Being perceived so fully and completely felt terrifying, but I didn't stop. I kept making videos, kept helping people with their hamsters, while other people my age were out partying and living their lives. I was here on YouTube pouring my heart into my videos about small animals, and it was worth it because of all of the people who have thanked me. By this point, I knew content creation would be my career. It was what I loved and it was something I was good at. Because of it, I was actually able to buy my first condo at 21 years old. But then the pandemic hit and the pet community exploded overnight. So many people impulsively were getting pets to cure their boredom. And then as fast as it grew, the pet community quieted and life went on. I think many people stopped keeping hamsters or moved on to other species, and that's when I started to feel something I couldn't quite put my finger on, like a switch had gone off in my head, like I was drifting away. Somewhere along the way, the negativity caught up with me. All of those years of harsh comments, misunderstandings, and scrutiny has chipped away at me, and I have become super self-conscious, not just about how I look, but how I am perceived. The thought of someone hating me over a misunderstanding or a rumor feels unbearable. I want so badly for people to like me and to see my heart. Filming has become hard for me lately. I seek perfection and want everything to look exactly as it is in my head so badly that it's caused me to procrastinate heavily when it comes time to actually film. My relationship with pet care changed too. As a kid, everything felt black and white, and there were rules, and if you followed them, you were good. But now I've started to learn that there are exceptions to every rule. Life isn't black and white, and people's circumstances are unique, and the pet community can be surprisingly negative. I've felt so much pressure to be the hamster Google that not knowing everything sometimes makes me feel like a fraud. I've even been criticized for learning something new and sharing it, as if I should have just magically known everything all along instead. At times, it felt like people only cared about the information I provided and not the real person behind the screen. I've realized that the best way for me to help people is not by shouting the loudest, but by inspiring them with kindness and positivity. Instead of making assumptions, we can ask questions. We can create a space that feels positive, where people feel safe to learn and grow. But even with these realizations, I've found myself struggling with a bigger question. What is my purpose now? Some days I feel lost. Some days I question whether my voice still matters. Maybe the answer lies somewhere in this video. Maybe it's about returning to the pure love I had for animals as a child. Maybe it's about creating from a place of joy again, without fear of being seen or judged. I don't have all the answers yet, but for now, I'm learning to give myself grace, to ask questions instead of seeking perfection, to trust that my purpose will find me again, just as it did all those years ago when I held Pumpkin in my hands and decided to do better. I can't wait to see what 2025 has in store for me, and hopefully that doesn't jinx it this time.